Ascendancy is a class's specialization in Path of Exile 2. Unlocking Ascendancy will give your class access to new abilities, which will greatly increase your effectiveness. This guide covers how to access the Ascendancy trial of the Sekhemas and tips on how to make that trial a bit easier to overcome. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. In order to unlock Ascendancy, we will first need to progress through the main quest line until Act 2. Not long into Act 2, we will get the Trail of Corruption main quest, which will have us traveling to the Traitor's Passage point of interest. Once there, we will need to deviate from the main quest objective, which is to reach the top of the gates. Instead, we'll need to explore the Traitor's Passage to find the Ancient Seal. We can interact with the seal to open up a hidden chamber. Inside, we'll need to remove the 3 runic seals and defeat the resulting boss, Balbala the Traitor. The main mechanic to watch out for during this boss fight is when Balbala vanishes from sight. At that point, we must search the chamber quickly to find them before they are able to fill it with poisonous gas, which will be lethal. Balbala will also summon adds, which need to be dealt with in an expedient manner. Once the boss is defeated, we can pick up the Balbala's Barya quest item. Doing so will start the Ascent to Power side quest, completion of which will allow us to pick our Class Ascendancy. At this point, we can return to the Ardura caravan and speak with Zarka. After that, we'll need to use the desert map and travel to the Trial of the Sekhemas point of interest. Within the first chamber, we will find a relic altar. The party leader can place the Barya into the altar and then speak to Balbala to advance the quest. As a result, we will get our first relic, and this brings us to the second major part of the video, which is how the Trial of the Sekhemas works, its mechanics, and tips on how to make overcoming it a bit easier. First, to start the trial, we need to put a Barya into the altar, which we've already done. Then we can slot relics into the available space of the altar inventory to give us boons for our trial. In this case, we just have the urn relic that Balbala gave us. We can insert it and click confirm to open up the trial. In order to complete the trial, we will need to advance through a number of encounters, each with its own unique challenge. We will need to do this without dying or losing all of our honor, either will result in losing the entire trial. As a quick but important aside, for this first trial, we can speak to Balbala if we fail it, in order to get the Barya back and restart the trial. In all other future trials, failure will result in a permanent loss of the item that was used to start it. With that in mind, let's talk about some ways to make the trial easier to complete, starting with honor. Honor is basically your health bar for the run. Your max honor is initially determined by the combined total of both your character's life stat and energy shield stat. So for my character, with a life stat of 559 and a shield stat of 163, the combined total results in 722 honor. Honor is lost whenever any character in the trial takes damage, so make sure that your fellow party members are competent. Also, because of the way honor works, stocking up on gear that increases max life and/or shield is extremely beneficial. In any case, honor can only be healed in a few specific ways during a trial, and you'll want to get to the final boss with as much of it as possible in order to have a fair shot at defeating it. The first room that we will need to go through will have a predetermined encounter or trial. In my case, it was an hourglass trial. This one is pretty simple, just survive until the timer runs out. Defeating rare enemies, those with yellow names, will cause the timer to tick down faster. Once a room's trial is overcome, we can move to the reward chamber to get our prize for that particular encounter, and also interact with the trial map to select our next challenge or trial. From what I've seen, there are 5 trial types, and from most to least difficult, those are Gauntlet, Escape, Hourglass, Chalice, and Ritual. Each trial will also usually come with a curse or debuff, as well as a reward. In my case, I selected a Ritual trial, which awarded a bronze key and afflicted us with the Dark Pit debuff. Read these debuffs carefully, as some of them can be extremely detrimental. If you're finding the trials to be easy, I recommend going for those with keys or fountains as rewards, as those will increase the amount of loot that you can get out of the trial. If you're struggling with the trials, go for easy trials or those that restore honor as their reward. Also, take note of the lines that connect the different trials, as those determine which next trials will be available after you complete the current trial that you were on. In my case, I selected the ritual trial that gave a bronze key as a reward. Ritual trials tend to be fairly easy, as all that's required is to defeat all the enemies and disrupt their summoning ritual. After claiming this room's reward, my only option was to go to an hourglass trial next, which again is fairly straightforward on how to complete. For the next trial, I had a choice between Gauntlet and Ritual. This was a fairly easy choice and I went with Ritual. For the next trial, one of the options granted a pledge which can change a trial's parameters. These can be extremely beneficial, and so I went with that. This was also an escape trial, which can lead to a quick lost trial run if not approached correctly. For the escape trial, we need to quickly run and deactivate all death crystals before the timer reaches 0. It starts right after interacting with the first death crystal, and there is very little time to spare at first. I recommend avoiding enemies as much as possible for this trial type, focusing instead on deactivating all death crystals. Once that's accomplished, we can go back and explore if we want. For the pledge, I had a really good option, which was to get 3 random minor boons in exchange for taking the Veiled Sight debuff. Since I could already view and plot out my last 2 trials before taking that pledge, it was basically all good and no bad. I plotted out my next 2 trials as Ritual and Escape, with the Escape trial being one that restored honor upon completion. I also found a gold key in the Escape trial room, which would come in handy after defeating the final boss. After restoring our honor, we proceeded to the final trial boss. Rattlecage the Earthbreaker is a fairly tanky boss that can also dish out a lot of damage from AoE attacks. My biggest tip for this boss is to do your best at keeping some distance from it, and also from the mini volcanoes that it causes to erupt from the ground. Unfortunately, my friend Crazy Flips only had a max honor of 450 during this run, so he ran out before I did and died just before the boss was defeated. After figuring out how honor was determined, we got his health buffed up and returned to complete the trial a second time for his Ascendancy. In any case, I managed to survive and defeat the boss, and then made my way into the reward room. Here, we can use our sacred water to buy relics from Balbala, or convert them to keys at the Keth Forge. Once we've opened all of our chests and claimed our rewards, we can go to the Altar of Ascendancy to pick our class specialization. I'm not sure if this choice can be undone, so if you are not already sure of your Ascendancy choice, I suggest spending some time here figuring out what you want to go with. As a sorceress, my choice was the Stormweaver. After choosing an Ascendancy, we will get 2 Ascendancy points to invest in it under the passive skill tree. These points are not awarded as often as general skill points, so think carefully on where to allocate them. As a Stormweaver, Tempest Caller seemed like the most immediately useful passive. Please check the pinned comment on this video, which will be updated with useful information as time goes on. You can also reach out to me in the comment section with any questions, where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great guides, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day if you're here today, have a great Sunday, and a great week. And as always, thanks for watching.